Welcome, class. Second years and first years can use this video. We're going to go through the role of media. It's chapter 10. I want to say thank you to a student of mine who made this video, and I updated and added different slides to it. And I want to show you an example of the type of presentation that a student could do and send to me. Also want to thank students who have sent me some fabulous presentations. So well done on that. Right, to begin, the contents then of what we're going to talk about in this video. Again, this video is from Strand 3. It's called The Role of Media. You'll find it in your book at the end, after law. I'll also put up a link on my website, mrmcgarry.weebly.com, so you can get access to the full presentation also. Media. We're going to talk about media. We're going to talk about public opinion. We're going to talk about the evolving media. We're going to talk about digital citizenship and also the digital print that we leave behind on the internet. We're going to talk about media in democracy, how it can influence democracies and different people getting into power. We'll use examples such as America and Ireland. We'll also talk about bias, fake news, and alternative facts. Media. Media is a great way of communicating and receiving information such as news through different mediums. Different types of mediums are newspapers. We can get our information and our news from newspapers, posters, leaflets, TV, and on loads of different platforms, especially nowadays on social media. And the easiest way to remember social media is Facebook or Snapchat for students, but I'll take you through a few other options right there as well. Public opinion. Editors decide the stories that they want to tell people and what point of view to take in them. So they'll have their own bias, they'll have their own ideas, newspaper editors included. And also people writing stuff on the internet will have a bias. They'll have certain likes and dislikes themselves. That'll be hard to write an article without bringing in their own perspective on it. Advertising is a huge part of newspapers and TV programs, and they make a lot of money from advertisement. For example, the Irish Times, you can, businesses can buy a page ad in the Irish Times for approximately €60,000 for a full page. So that gives you an example of how the media makes money. Having said that, newspapers are starting to lose money at the moment, and social media such as Twitter, Google, Facebook, etc. are reaping all the profits as people move and switch more to social media for their news, which in my opinion is wrong. I continue to buy the Sunday Independent and the Irish Times on Saturday the Weekender, and I find that particularly to be a great read, and the stories and the level of writing quality in it is really high. So it's a great overall education. But I know when we're young, we look at different stories and different things. That's fine, just to know that there's better quality news out there that can be accessed. Okay, moving on. The development of media. Media has evolved greatly in the last few years with the introduction of e-books, that are books that you can read online. You've got streamed music now. Think of Amazon, the biggest company in the world, probably at this stage, biggest market capitalization, which means the biggest wealth behind it, and one of the biggest growing companies in the world. So a lot of people are even now with COVID-19 buying music, books on Amazon and loads of various different products, and are constantly hitting people with messages and emails to sell them stuff. Okay, and they'll put little ads here, there, and everywhere. So everyone at this stage knows the brand name Amazon. And I'm probably not helping Irish companies' causes by mentioning names. So what we should really be trying to do, especially in these times, is to buy local and buy Irish. even if it costs a little bit more. It doesn't always, but even if it costs a little more, it helps to keeps jobs and taxes and everything in our country. Right, so e.g. Instagram and LinkedIn for the older generations, adults working in the business world, a lot of them will use Instagram and LinkedIn, and they see them as more professional to use rather than Facebook and Snapchat. A lot of adults wouldn't use Snapchat. Okay, so moving on. Digital citizenship. Media has evolved greatly to allow us to communicate to those who we are unable to talk to face no matter where they are. So, you know, I'm using Zoom at the moment. So we've had a lot of our teacher meetings using Zoom at 80 or more teachers on the screen. You flick through the screens, you can see people, hear people. It's a fantastic medium, especially during these times. But there's advantages and disadvantages. So we'll talk more about how face-to-face time is very important for personal relationships and building friendships and building relationships rather than spending too much time on screen time. Okay. So Donald Trump is the guy on the right. He, as you know from class, he's the president of America. You also probably know who the president before him was. I'll give you a moment to think and guess who that was. You did mention in class. Yeah, okay, Barack Obama. Okay, so Barack Obama was from the Democrats and Donald Trump is more from the Republican Party. And he uses Twitter to bypass the TV stations and reporters a lot. In fact, the reporters annoy him to no end, and he calls everything that a lot of what they're saying biased news and fake news, and he's kind of famous for coining the phrase of fake news. And yeah, there's arguments for and against, because yeah, there is a lot of fake news out there. Whether Donald Trump, what he's putting up on Twitter is fake or real, has to be considered as well. And everything has to be considered. Every person who's putting up news, every writer, every editor, every piece of social media that goes up, we need to analyze it with a critical eye to see where it's coming from, who sent it, what bias is attached, and various other elements. Okay, politicians now use media in their campaigns to reach people and influence their votes. Think of Leo Varadkar. He's got a huge Twitter following. Donald Trump there has one of the biggest Twitter followings in the world. I think it could be up to close to 1 billion, don't quote me on that, but he's got a lot of followers at the moment, people interested to hear what he has to say. Some because people think it's funny, and others because they think it's interesting, and he's some great support, and then he's some people who ridicule him. Okay, so Leo Varadkar and Donald Trump have a huge list of Twitter followers. They like to get their messages out to the world using Twitter. It's one of a number of means. Trump doesn't trust the American media and prefers to send his messages directly from his office. So whether he types the actual message himself, we don't know, he might, or maybe he's busy and he gets his office, or maybe tells someone else to write it up, etc. So yeah, just to consider that as well. Same with Leo Varadkar, he might have an office or civil service might be writing his messages for him, or he might write in person. We don't know for sure. Okay, so bias, fake news, and alternative news. A big worry for me as teacher is YouTube. A lot of students are getting their information from YouTube, and you need to be very careful with YouTube if they're teaching you about important topics. You're looking up something about, I don't know, health or something that you're interested in. The next thing, this guy or woman is up talking about, telling you why it's good or why it's bad or various things. Be very careful with that, because a lot of those people aren't doctors, not qualified. They may or may not have the education to be talking about what they're talking about to young children. So again, it falls back on checking your sources, making sure the person is an expert, properly qualified. And it's very hard to verify that. So that's why it's always good to go through your parents and pass things by your parents to see if it's legitimate what you're reading or listening to, or if it's just someone coming up with opinions himself or herself. Okay, so a few tips here. Have you checked the source? So have you checked where it's coming from, where the information is coming from? So you need to investigate the site, what's its purpose, and its contact information. So part of the source and the reason why some of those people have YouTube videos up on different social media accounts is they make money from the advertising. So even though it might be factual and they may or may not be telling you relevant or truthful information, they'll still make money from advertising if it's popular and people just like listening to that person. Okay, so have you checked the author? Do a quick online search on the author. Is he or she a reasonable person? Is this person reliable? Is it reliable information? Is the person reliable? So if they're talking about health matters, it should be a qualified doctor. If they're talking about something to do with the virus, it should be a proper qualified person who specializes in viruses, like the good people we have on RT News at the moment. And that's part of the reason why we use the RT News app in class, because you get reliable, good information, accurate information, and it's government backed. Yeah. Word of caution there is not to spend too much time on depressing or bad news stories. Try and focus more on the positive ones, especially when you're off during this period. There's plenty of stories there. You don't have to focus on virus stories or bad stories. Okay, right, moving on. Have you checked the date when the story was posted? Old stories are not necessarily relevant to current events. What are your opinions? Are you biased? Could your own judgments and beliefs be affecting your judgment? Okay, so your own beliefs and judgments can make you form beliefs and ideas about things as well. Have you read the whole story, or have you just taken snippets of information from the story, or has the person sending the information just been very selective and not given the full story and just given part of the story? Something that caught my attention in the news recently was the Green Party. When they're on the news, there seems to be snippets in the news, whether I'm right or wrong. This is just an opinion, but the news seems to be not giving the full story of what the Green Party are for, but they're highlighting issues that might turn the public against them. So they're highlighting things like it's going to cost the Green Party going to cost Ireland billions in euro to get their climate strategies in check. That they're holding farmers and car owners, etc., to ransom, which is not fully true. It's not looking at the whole picture. For the whole picture, you might have to go direct, say, to a political party's website. And again, this is not just about the Green Party. It could be about Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin. It could be about Social Democrats, Labour Party. They all mightn't get their full story told. And so it's important to maybe go directly to their websites to see what their head office is actually saying. What are their policies? What are their plans? And what do they intend to do? Okay. Does it have supporting sources? So has your information that you found, has it got supporting sources? Click on any further links. Does the information and the other links support the story that you're reading? Is it a joke? If it's ridiculous, it might be a joke. Find out more about the author on the site. You'll see a joke later on, a picture of a basketball, massive basketball on Nace Road that supposedly has fallen onto the Nace Road. You'll see it later. I'll explain that later. Have you asked the experts? Ask someone you trust or consult to fact check the website. So again, your parents are your first port of call. Your teachers are a good way as well to ask and find out, is that fake news or is that an accurate source of information to be reading? Okay. Here's the joke visual that someone had created on a computer. So anytime you're driving down Nace Road, you'll see this massive big basketball to represent our national basketball stadium. And look what they've done. They've managed on a computer to make it look like the basketball's monument has fallen down, broken a sign, is going to crash into people on the road, right? So people do that, for fun and for the crack sometimes, but obviously the other side of that is if people start believing that story, you're affecting the Gardaí and emergency services having to be called, and they could be called out to other more important matters of someone with serious disease or serious health issues, and they're now thinking that this is about to happen on that road, and they're mobilizing the resources to try and help. So, but it's very realistic. It's a good example to show you how realistic writers and authors and people using cameras and videos and editing software can make something look. So this is a fake story made to look very real using edited visuals and text. Source of information. So I'm showing you this because I want students to write down what websites and links they got their information from. Again, it ties into what we're talking about in terms of bias, fake, and where we get our information from. And we've been recommending this for all our presentations, that students write down where to get your information from. And we were recommending in class, rather than using google.com, to maybe try and use googlescholar.com, yeah, which is there in the second one. And as you see, this student has written down some of the links that it used to find its information, yeah, so that's handy. And then the teacher can see, is it good information they're accessing, or is it maybe from websites that aren't going to be helpful to a student. Moving on. Conclusion then. The role of media. So we've talked about the role of media in our lives. It has just to sum up on it, it has a massive impact on our lives, because we're hearing and listening and reading things all the time on our phones. Yeah, and we need to be careful not to spend too much time on phones and PlayStations and screen time. You should get out maybe an exercise and take on a new challenge, learn a new instrument, maybe take on a new adventure, go for a walk. Yeah, there's loads of things we can do. But spending too long on phones kind of dominates our lives then. Yeah, and watching news all the time isn't healthy either. Recommended for the RT News app, but we recommend just every second night, maybe 5-10 minutes, have a look and see what's going on, and don't focus on all the negative stories. Okay, so it affects public opinion. So depending on what media and what news comes out, the public might decide, oh, let's vote for Fianna Fáil, or let's vote for the Labour Party, you know, during that general election. So the media there in a democracy is very important, because it can influence people's vote. How media has changed. So it's changed from print, newspapers, and then with TV, satellite TV, and we now have an increase in social media, e.g. Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, websites, blogs, podcasts, and there's probably more that I've forgotten, but there's a good few to keep you going anyway. Okay, digital media, digital citizenship, and digital footprint, e.g. private information or visuals. So it's very important to be aware that when we're online, top companies can track where we've been, what we've seen, and they can tailor their advertisements to our particular likes and dislikes, particularly for our likes. So they can sell us stuff based on what we've clicked on. You can also see things, and there's very little private nowadays online. Some people argue that even the webcams are that big companies around the world can access our webcams, can access our audio through our TVs and through our laptops and through our phones. And it's just be aware that if we want something private, we need to close down our laptops, switch off the phones, turn off the TVs. Yeah, okay. Media in democracy, and we spoke about how it helped Twitter and the social media campaign. In other words, the amount of messages that Barack Obama sent out, he was using a lot of social media, and he got into power as president, the first Black president of America. And social media had a massive impact then on getting him elected. And it's the same with Twitter and Trump. That's having a massive influence on public, what they think of Trump, and his influence over America and the world. And to a lesser extent, because we're a smaller country, Leo Varadkar and his Twitter account, and people pick up messages from that and have a think about what way Ireland's going and what way maybe it's been run. Bias, fake news, and alternative facts, e.g. YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, I heard is another new one for students. I haven't seen it, don't know much about it. I've heard about Snapchat, all right, and I definitely know about YouTube. So yeah, you get a lot of bias, fake news, and alternative facts and pictures that mightn't be true, mightn't be accurate. So just be aware of that and be vigilant. Yeah. So on reflection, through this project, right, we learned about how the media needs to be checked if it's accurate or not, how public opinion can be positive or negative, and the media definitely influences a lot. The evolving media and how it's changing from news on print, such as newspapers, to TV, and now more and more on our social media platforms, such as Facebook, Twitter, Google, and all the rest of them. And then we talked about digital citizenship, and we talked about media and democracy, what's fair and what's the truth, yeah, and how it influences people getting into power around the world, different media and how it's used and who it's run by and who has power control over it. Bias, fake news, and alternative facts, be aware. We said, yeah, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, just beware of visuals, beware of what's being said, and don't always take it at face value, and don't always take things to be the truth. If in doubt, show an adult, your parents or teacher, obviously being your first port of call. And see the link on the last page for an interesting video on the role of media. Oh yeah, I put this link together for you. I think it's set up so you can click on it. It's this one here, it's at the very end. And you'd be able to see an interesting video there on the role of media. Just if you get sick of listening to me, if someone else is listening there for, I think it's only 5 to 10 minutes. But it's good, check it out. Okay, so that's the reflection. I'm a digital. So when I'm online, I ensure that I'm responsible and safe, the girl says. And she also says, I tell a responsible adult if someone is being harmful to someone else online. And then the other student says, I protect my private information. I say no to cyberbullying. Okay, so cyberbullying is a huge problem on the internet where students are slagging hurtfully other people, making them feel bad. And obviously that's not nice, it's not kind. And that doesn't help society, it doesn't help any of us. So I protect my private information. Yeah, never share your private details, your full name, address, and banking details, mobile number. You know, don't be giving that information to anyone. Make sure you talk to your parents before you're giving private information to anyone. That's a major no-no. Do not give private information to anyone who asks it online. Okay, and yeah, tell a responsible adult if someone's being harmful. So if you don't like something, you think that's not right online, make sure you report it, say it to parents, or else that person gets away with it. Criminal, you can get away with things online, and there's plenty of criminals online that you need to be aware of. When I'm online, I ensure that I'm responsible and safe. Well, the best way is, again, check in with your parents, and they can let you know. Okay, right. Moving on then, our last slide that I put together. Let's see, questions. Okay, so you have a think about now, and you could type these up. Make sure you type in the questions themselves as well, so I can see what answer you're trying to answer. Make sure you use proper titles, please. The role of the media is the title for this, and then you put question 1, and then you write down just for short ADV and DIS. If you want to shorten it, there's no problem. But just as long as I know what the question is about. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of the general public creating news stories, taking photos, videos, and writing things on social media? Okay, so have a think about that. If someone's reporting a story, a crime, for example, and there's someone there with a video camera, and they've snipped it or edited it, and they've maybe missed out on the first part of the story or the second part of the story, have a think about how that might impact. And also think about actually the advantages of it sometimes, that you can actually maybe record stuff that the Guardian might want to see, and then there's more eyes on those people who might be doing wrong. Okay, so why is it good? Now it should be an it there. Apologies for the typo, just put an it in there. Why is it good to switch off news and not have it on 24/7? And the same goes with our phones and our screen time, basically. And why should we not spend all our time on negative or depressing news stories? And especially coming up to bedtime, you shouldn't. It's not a good idea to use your phone coming up to your bedtime. The screen time keeps you awake. You won't get a good night's sleep, and you'll be grumpy and tired the next day if you don't get proper sleep every night. So yeah, it's a good idea to put the phone down, and maybe don't go into heavy news or depressing news after 6 o'clock just before you're going to go to bed. It's not good for your well-being. So yeah, I'd stay clear of that one. Right, next one. But have a think about that, and any ideas you have, add some yourself here as well. I'm just helping you along here as well. So why is it good to be up to date with stories in RT News? So why do you think it's good to be reading RT News? Think about the educational value. I think some of the best education you can get is reading the weekend newspapers. If the writing's good and it's a good newspaper, good quality one like the Irish Times. Yeah. But RT News, you know, is the Irish news backed by the Irish government, and you get stories on lifestyle, culture, politics, current affairs. So have a think about why that would be important why would it be important to know about things that are going on in the world. Okay, what are your own reflections about the role of media in Irish society? What do you think the media is positive or negative? And if it's positive, why is it positive? What does it do? If it's negative, how can it be negative? And what do we have to be careful of? Okay, so have a think about all of those. Type them up and then share them to my usual email. And then, yeah, you know, as usual, like we do in class. And again, you don't have to, if you want to reduce the amount of work you have to do, you can always work in your same group of 4, so we were in class, have the same manager, and you can communicate with each other using the Google Slides, and then ask your manager to post it to me. And then just put the name of each person on what slide that you did in terms of your summaries. Put them down in the bottom right corner so I can give marks for the effort individually and as a group. And remember, we mark on efforts, that's content, your creativity when you do up your summaries, basically. So you'll be doing a summary up on this using Google Slides, using your own pictures, your own words, as this student did. Again, there's no rush with any of these. The hope, I suppose, is to finish law and the role of media by the end of this school year. So do we have to get it all done? And it's dependent on the student. Some students will be able to get it done more quickly than others. Just do your best. Spend about an hour a week on work, maybe 10 minutes every second night on news for your homework. And you know, that's more than enough. You don't need to go over the hour every week on CSP. No need. So what I ask you to do, you don't need to worry. It doesn't have to be done that minute or that hour or that week. Just keep tipping away every week an hour, and we'll eventually get all the work done. We'll be better for it. Okay, so again, any questions, concerns, suggestions, you're always welcome to email me on my email address. And yeah, thanks for your attention. Keep safe. Bye-bye.